Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, a couple, who lived a free-spirited lifestyle working on a farm, encountered a troubling situation when the farmer they were staying with asked the wife to shower with him. The man left, and 2 years later, the wife contacted him in desperate need of financial assistance after the farmer had a heart attack and she was facing legal trouble for financial misconduct. He refused to help her, and she ended up in prison for identity and financial theft. Although their romantic relationship never rekindled, they kept in touch, and the man eventually settled down, got a steady job, and remarried, ultimately finding a better life after the heartbreak. Now let's get into the story. I, 33, came home from work one day, extra filthy. Usually, I managed to stay pretty clean, even though I worked on a farm. My wife, 30, and I were sort of hippies, living from place to place, and depending on the generosity of strangers, we loved life and would work hard at whatever opportunity we found together. You'd be surprised at how generous and kind some people will be to others. The media likes to label everyone terrible. And even though my story kind of does make my wife seem like a terrible person, that's not what I want to focus on. We both volunteered to work hard on this guy's farm in exchange for a place to stay and warm meals. The hard work was easy when it came to riding the horses. My wife and I loved that time and experience. Scooping the droppings was a little less desirable, but all worth it. Feeding the animals was great fun anyway. That day I fell into a mud by the pigs. I came in a little early to shower and didn't see the farmer or my wife anywhere. That was pretty normal because he would work in his office or be outside somewhere fixing something. I heard the shower running, so I assumed my wife was in it. I saw her silhouette when I walked in. I got naked, prepared to freak her out by giving her a muddy hug, but then I saw a second silhouette. I whipped open the shower curtain to find her standing in the steaming shower with the farmer. I screamed and asked what was happening. She said she didn't think it was too big a deal for him to ask her to shower with him. I was stunned. Yes, we were staying with this guy, and yes, we were free thinkers, but she didn't ask me or tell me about it, and it felt like there was something more going on. The farmer apologized to me and said if I wasn't cool with it, it wouldn't happen again. I said it was strange, and since I wasn't told about it, I felt weird. When my wife and I were alone, I told her I wanted to leave. She said she didn't think we needed to and really liked the setup we had there. Of course, she did. I felt like I was fuming when I asked her if he ever asked her for intimate. She said he hinted towards it in the shower, but she wouldn't do it unless I was involved. She probably didn't realize how much this bothered me. I told her I couldn't stand the thought of sharing her even if I was there. She looked disappointed, and that killed me. I asked her if she was really looking forward to sleeping with another person, and she said she wasn't sure about other people, but she liked the idea of doing it with the farmer since he was helping us out. I told her I had to leave, and if she didn't want to come with me, I'd consider our relationship over. She thought about it for a minute, then offered me some time away to fight myself with the possibility of me returning to her and the farmer whenever I was ready. This was disgusting and painful. I left without another word to or from either of them. Fast forward 2 years. My ex randomly contacted me. I couldn't believe it, and I hesitated to read her message. It said that she was still living on the same farm, but 5 months ago, the farmer had a heart attack. He was in the hospital in critical condition, and she hadn't been able to keep up with all the farm work, hospital bills, and business expenses. Her name wasn't on anything, so she couldn't legally access his funds or do anything without him. She wasn't sure how she could stay at the farm for much longer and didn't have money to get very far. I told her to find someone else to ask for charity. She broke my heart and went behind my back, then chose someone she barely knew over me. I thought we were lifelong partners that lived free while remaining loyal. She betrayed me and didn't care when I left. I told her it took me a long time to recover from that breakup, and only just now started to find a good place in life. She wasn't going to ruin it for me. I hung up. I got a voicemail from her a year later explaining that she had my number memorized and was calling me from prison. She was charged with identity and financial theft, since she resorted to acting as the farmer by authorizing payments on his cards and selling some of his animals. When he recovered from his hospitalization, he kicked her out and reported her to the police for buying herself a car with his money, selling his property without permission, and signing his name on legal documents. It was bad. Although our relationship was never romantic again, we did keep in touch from across the country. I finally settled down, got a steady job, and remarried. Everything worked out for the best, even though I had to go through a bit of heartbreak. Today's second story. In this story, Opie is living in a foreign country for work, and their wife recently returned from working elsewhere to inform them that their marriage is over. The wife had experienced mental health issues and had an affair during her time away. The person is struggling to accept the reality of the situation and misses their wife deeply. They are in the process of sorting out the logistics of the divorce, but it's emotionally challenging, and they are feeling isolated in a foreign country. The dreams of being with their wife are particularly painful. They are unsure when they will be ready to consider new relationships due to their introverted nature. Now let's get into the story. I'm living in a foreign country for work, so I don't have many friends here and certainly no family. My wife went away to work somewhere more exciting for a few months, and she came home 2 days ago and told me our marriage was over. She's had some mental health problems in the past, and she apparently met someone who could better support her through them. So a 9-year relationship, 2-year marriage is gone. Now I feel like crap. 2 days ago, she came home. I had the flowers, her favorite food, everything ready. She walked in the door and told me we were done. I was destroyed. Yesterday, I would randomly break down probably 3 or 4 times. Today I'm sure I have 1 or 2 of those breakdowns still ahead of me and 1 behind me. I'm talking to lawyers, but we are both foreigners to the country, so lawyers are looking into it before committing to the paperwork. Right now, it looks simple. She wants what's hers and intends to leave me with what is mine. And so far, there are no disagreements over what belongs to whom. We have no kids, and she doesn't want the cat. So the logistics seemed sorted out enough, foreign country aside. Despite all that, I can't stop thinking about her. Everything I do is something we do. Anything I watched was something we would watch. Even the games I play, places I visit. Those are games we would play, places we would visit. She was such a huge part of my life, and while I'm sure it's cliché, this whole mess really felt quite sudden. I tried to see if there were any grounds to stay together on, but she was very forward in admitting that while she was away, she cheated on me. She offered the 6, and she didn't regret it twice before those revelations. I was willing, hopeful, even to have her in the spare room, willing to try and work it out. Hell, I might have even been able to work with the first one. Maybe probably not the second thing on that list. But each one of those things hit harder than the last. I told her she needed to go. Her mom is nearby, and we would sort everything out later. When she finally left the house that night, I was just a shell. I suppose it makes the wondering why or who or what's easy, but accepting the reality is far from it. She says she never cheated before, and since she was so forward with everything above, there's no reason not to believe her. I'm still young, 29, but that makes it feel worse. I've shared almost a third of my life with this girl. Halloween was always her favorite, and Christmas tied for a close second. Both of those are around the corner, and for the first time in almost a decade. And really, as an adult, I'll be spending them without the girl I promised to spend my life with. Despite all that, I keep checking Facebook, checking texts, hoping for the message that tells me it was all a joke, a mistake, or dream. Despite all that, I want her here. I miss her so much. I loved her so much. Also, add 1 to my breakdown. Tally up their sucks. Thanks for listening. Update: hey, all. 5 months ago, my ex-wife left me in a pretty brutal way. Wasn't sure if I would post an update. Here I am, though. Shortly after the split, she was back and forth over if she actually wanted our relationship to end. She would call to see how I was doing, and I would start to give in. Then she would say something often enough to remind me what I was actually going through. Conversations ended when I would just ask for info I was missing for the lawyers. Eventually, she said she would not talk to me, but only through the lawyer. Then she would try and reach out for something directly to me, and that cycle repeats quite a bit. She showed up around midnight at the house, around a week after she told me that we were done, and that whole night left me pretty destroyed. She opened the door with her key, which I took back, and just showed up. We talked. I tried to see if anything was worth salvaging, but I made it pretty clear the job of convincing me was with her. She didn't know what she wanted, but was still stuck by the fact that she didn't regret what she did. She left again that night, and the old phone calls happened less frequently, but still happened. I made it more and more clear I was moving forward with a divorce, and I would only slow that down if she could pull a miracle, starting with real remorse and ending with what would have likely been an actual miracle. The regret or miracle doesn't happen and she turns pretty vindictive. At some point, the calls turned into demands for money she was touring the US and hotels she couldn't afford, which turned into demands that I support her since she was legally still my wife. None of them worked out for her very well, but still got to me. Now I'm just waiting for the call from my lawyer confirming everything is complete. The agreements, documents, payments, etc. were sorted out by the end of December. The unfriending and unfollowing of her and her family was by January. I forgot about her mom until I saw a random post on Facebook. I just need confirmation the courts are done. I've recently turned 30 and I'm still living in my not home country, so I've been hesitant to go out much. The worst part, though 100% the worst part, are the dreams. Being with her. Happy in all sorts of awesome places. Waking up beside her, seeing the smiles, only to actually wake up in the dark and alone. That is the part that killed me. And while happening, less still kills me. I wish the dreams would stop or I would wake up from the crappy 5-month one I've been having. I don't know. When I'll start looking at relationships again, I've become pretty introverted, to be honest. The upside is my few friends are good at dragging me out when I should be out, but most of them are happily married, which isn't always what I want to be around. It's hard to replace someone you love with all your heart. As much as I wouldn't mind getting on with that part. Anyways, thanks for the kind words so far. Appreciate all your faces. Today's third story. In this story, OP, suspecting his wife of infidelity during a supposed business trip, discovered her at a bar with another man using location sharing on her phone. He witnessed them drinking and captured video evidence of them kissing. When his wife left with the man and showed signs of drunk driving, he called the police. She was arrested for a DUI. After a call from jail, she confessed that her business trip was a lie. Now let's get into the story. My wife, 34, and I, 32, have been together for 8 years. When she told me about the business trip she was planning on taking, I thought it was a little odd because she worked as a bank teller, but she actually showed me a company email she got explaining that all employees were to receive paid training over the course of one weekend in Tennessee. What she forgot to do, though, was turn off location share on her phone, which led me to discover that she was actually at a bar. So you can imagine how surprised I was to see her at the bar sitting with another man. I watched them drink a lot over the course of 3 hours. From the opposite side of the restaurant, I told my closest friend that I saw my wife was there, even though she was supposed to be on a business trip. He was shocked and asked me what I was going to do. I decided to start filming. I was super upset when I caught a kiss on video. My friend tried to console me, but nothing was going to help at that moment. Eventually, they left and I followed them at a distance. My wife got in the driver's seat of the man's car, leaving hers at the bar. I didn't like this at all. It was super unsettling. As I watched her drive, she had trouble staying on the road. I decided to call the cops on her and gave them the license plate of the man's car. I followed them from a distance of about half a mile on the highway before a cop found them. She was swerving pretty badly, even more than when I called them. I then saw her get pulled over before going around them. I was so pleased with what I knew. At this point, my wife had some consequences. I then drove off to a secluded area and sat there thinking about what happened until I got a phone call. It was my wife calling from the police station. She asked me to bear with her while she told me one hell of a story. She said her business trip was canceled, so she went to the bar with her friends before coming home. She said her car was left at the bar because her friend was driving her home. That's when she stopped, realizing she made a mistake. In her story, she was being charged with, and needed me to bail her out. But she just accidentally told me her friend was driving her home. If that was the case, she wouldn't be charged with a DUI. Besides that, she probably knew I was going to ask who her friend was. In her absolute frustration, she hung up on me. I didn't even get a chance to ask her anything. I found out later that she called her dad before calling me back. Apparently, she got lots of phone calls from jail. The only reason she called me back was because her dad refused to bail her out. She said she had to tell me the truth, but hoped I would hear her out and be understanding. She said she was driving her friend home when she got pulled over and arrested for a DUI. After my initial freakout over the news, I asked her who her friend was and how she planned to get home if her friend was too drunk to drive. She said she was going to spend time there, maybe sleep over while she suffered up. Okay, but who was her friend? She only gave me the name of Sarah. She said she didn't know her last name. How silly. I warned her that if I was going to bail her out, I was going to ask the police who she was with when she was arrested. This stunned her and she probably wondered if the police would tell me that information. At this point, she was in a corner, so she agreed and begged me to come get her. I said I would, but didn't. I called her company to speak with her boss. I asked if they canceled an employee training seminar scheduled for this weekend in Tennessee, but she had no idea what I was talking about. I thanked her for her time, but before I got off the phone, I let her know that my wife was being charged with a DUI and served divorce papers. So she probably wouldn't be into work for a while. She would have a lot to explain to her boss and coworkers. If she wasn't fired, I couldn't bail her out. I had to let her pay the price for her foolishness. She lied to my face and created a fake company email to show me. I never would have known she was with another man. If I didn't go to the same bar by chance. I had a video of them kissing, and along with her arrest, it was the perfect time to file for divorce. When she was pulled over, she was in his car and driving toward his home. She must have planned to spend the whole weekend with him, since that's what she fabricated the lie for. That proves to me that she was going to sleep with him repeatedly, or already has. She was absolutely broken when she was released. She tried to rekindle the relationship with the man in question, but he wasn't interested anymore. Pretty pathetic, if you ask me. She gave up our 8-year-long relationship for someone who didn't want her after 3 months. Sometimes I wish this was all a bad dream. And she really did go on a business trip. She's actually told me on a voicemail that she wishes the same thing. Meanwhile, I'm still happy she got a DUI and caught in the epic way she was. I can't imagine what would have happened if I never found her that night. I might have avoided raising a bastard child. For that reason alone, I am grateful.